Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we are going to be completely transforming this 2025 Honda Grom. It's got 20 miles on it right now, and it is 100% fully stock. I just picked it up yesterday, and we're going to be transforming it into a stunt Grom. I want to show you guys everything that you not need, but everything you're going to want. You don't need anything to make a bike a stunt bike. This is all stock. We're in second gear. It's wet outside and you can wheelie like really easy. You can do first, second, third stock pretty easy, and then fourth is a little challenging, but it is possible. I say that just to make sure you guys know you do not need these mods for stunting. I want to make that very, very clear. However, they make the bike more comfortable, they protect the bike, and they do help you wheelie a little bit easier. Will they make you be able to wheelie if you can't? No. All right, guys, we're gonna start tearing this thing down and start doing the first mods. The first two things that I would do if you're stunting your Grom are completely free. Take off the mirrors. They are ridiculous. They get in the way. And for me, I can't really see out of them anyways. So that's the first thing I always do, is take off the mirrors. Not a huge game changer or anything, but it does help. The second thing, your brake down here will have two springs. This smaller spring in the back here is what makes your brake light work when you hit your brakes. So keep that one on. But there's a lot bigger one that sits here and it goes to here. And it just gives you like a false sense of how far you're pressing the brake. And I always, no matter what the bike, take the big spring off. It gives you a lot better brake feel. So my handlebars are not in yet, but we're gonna start taking some stuff apart. I've got these grips. Perfect. I have this clutch lever. It's from Amazon. It's the Kemimoto. It's very similar in shape to the RSC, but if you have the money, get the RSC. This is just a cheap hold me over. You're sacrificing quite a bit of quality in comparison to RSC, but that'll work for now. What you're gonna need to get these bars fully swapped with the new stuff I got too, you're gonna want a very small screwdriver. A pick would be more ideal, but I don't have one here, so a very small screwdriver. We're gonna use that to pop these black caps off right there. You're gonna want an 8mm wrench. That is gonna be for your brakes. And then you're gonna want a screwdriver, which is gonna take off your controls. It's also gonna take off the bar ends, which have always been a pain in the past, so a lot of force for those. And then we're gonna need an Allen wrench. My Allen wrenches are not labeled in size, but I'll show you guys when we get there. There is one Phillips head screw right here in this little socket. And then there's one more in this one. We're gonna unscrew both of those, and then this will separate at that seam, and we can take it off the handlebar. Hard to do with one hand, but it will just separate. We're gonna go ahead and unplug these from our clutch. You just kind of pull them off just like that. I had to set the camera down because I couldn't get it with one hand. We're gonna pull that off, and then we're gonna separate this. It'll be a little awkward, but there we go. Just comes apart, and we can scoot that off the bike, just like this. We don't need that piece anymore either, because we're changing our clutch, so we're gonna have to leave these unplugged, but I'll show you guys how to get around that in a moment. Up next, 8mm. To take this clutch lever off, you are just gonna loosen these. Pretty self-explanatory, but I'm trying to make this video for anybody who has never had a Grom and has never worked on a bike before. So my goal is to get this from fully stock to fully stunted in this video and show you guys how to do all of the work. All right, we got it off. I'm gonna put the little piece for the clutch right there, and I'm gonna keep both of those in it, just so we don't lose them. But we don't even need them anymore because we're switching out our clutch lever. Now how this works is you're gonna peel back this right here, and then you're gonna align all of the slits. So the only one that's not really aligned is this small one. And you just twist those. And then you're just pulling the cable from this side until you get enough space. I'm gonna have to hire a camera guy. But you're just pulling this out, and then the line that's in it, you're gonna take through, and it'll just come out the bottom. Controls and clutch is off. I'm gonna put this back in my little parts bucket that I have up here of just random parts. And now we will move on to the right side, where we're gonna be taking off our front brake master, which is the exact same thing, an 8mm. You'll take these two off and it'll go away. 2 screws out of this, and we have the bar end on the stock bars, which is pretty tight on there when you first do it, but I did crack it loose while I had both hands, so don't let the video magic fool you. It is a bit of a hard thing to do, so don't be scared to use a little bit of force for it. Also, we're not going to be able to put these bar ends in those Pro Taper bars, so that is one negative. But the Pro Taper bars are a lot stronger than the stock ones, so I wouldn't worry too much. Now that we have the bar end off and our 2 screws out of this, we could kind of open this the same way we did the other side, and you can kind of see what's going on. Now this might scare a few people, but it's really not too bad. We're gonna pull one of these cables out and then just take the grip and the throttle body off. I'm gonna use my small screwdriver again. Once again, a pick would be better, but I'm just gonna slide under this without fraying it and kind of force it out. And the grip's kind of just free. Just kind of let these dangle for now, because we don't need it right now. The grip though, we'll just kind of take it off. And now we're gonna pop these little guys off. I usually don't care if I damage these because I don't put them back on, but you just need to get under them and kind of pry them off. Like that. Then just loosen these 4 bolts and the handlebars will be off and out of your way. We can set up our clutch lever and our throttle body and grips right now, even though we don't have bars. So for the clutch lever, same way it came off, it's going back on. If you guys got the one I did, there's 2 holes. Make sure to put it in the back hole, the one closest to the handlebar. Another time, it's hard to do with one hand, but I'm just gonna try to put that right there, and then you drag it out. Adjust these so your holes are lining up. Just right there, and right there. Then we'll just pull this. Oh no, I think I'm gonna need both hands. And now our clutch lever is on. We might need to mess with that adjustment a little bit later, but for now, we're gonna slide our little cover piece back over it. And now we don't have to be embarrassed about running the Kemimoto lever. All right, up next, grips. Not as fun, but you're gonna want that stock grip from earlier. If you got these, because this connection piece on the end is called a cam, and the grips come with like 5 or 6. So you need to make sure that the cam that you use is very similar to the cam that came off the bike. Cam K. The shape is quite a bit different, but the radius of it is quite a bit smaller. That's with Cam K, and it's in. I can't put the rest of it together until the bars get here. So the Grom looks like this, and yeah, I'll see you guys when the bars get in. Good news and bad news. The good news is the handlebars came in. The bad news is these are not correct. If I go right here, it says I ordered KLX 110 bars. These are KX high bars, and it's going to be very, very silly. They're low, they're long. I really wanted to get the Grom back together today, but I think I'm going to have to return these and get the bars I want, man. I will apologize for the angle, but this is what I've got to work with. I just ran up to Cycle Gear, which was a 40-minute drive each way to get the correct handlebars. These are the KLX 110s. I'm going to have to send the other ones back, but all we have to do now is put everything on exactly how it was on in the first place. I did put a little bit of electrical tape around the bar for the controls here, so we can just slide our grip back into the bar. And then, before we worry about all of that, we're gonna go ahead and tighten the bars down on those clamps we took off. So let me just grab those out of my pocket. One right there. Let's put one of the bolts in so it doesn't go anywhere. And then one on the other side. Now these are a little bit harder to tighten and take off since we have this big pad in the way. We can take that pad off. I'm going to try my best not to, because it's not really a pleasant experience. But we're just going to put all of these bolts back in, and we're not snugging any of these right now. You're going to want to sit on the bike and make sure the handlebars are how forward you want them, make sure they're in the middle. Maybe you like them a little bit back. Whatever you like, you want to make sure you got that good. I don't want the bars moving too much, but I also don't want them fully tightened down in case I do want to move them forward a little bit. All right, as long as we're gentle with these, they should not go anywhere. We are going to go ahead and do the same thing with the other side and the electrical tape. So we'll just see where we want to put those. Let's grab our grip first. Now with these lock-ons, they are so easy. You just slide them on. Now that the grip is on, we can go ahead and put our controls and see where those are going to sit. And these are just wrapping it back around the bar. I'm going to just put my finger here, and we're going to put a little bit of electrical tape around it, just so they're not rotating on the bike when I'm riding or trying to press the buttons. I was going to drill them out and do this one the complete right way. And then I had to do that drive, and it's just like, bro, I just want to ride my bike. So I am going a little less than I was gonna for getting these on here. I also picked up these black and gold 100% gloves. Will they offer any protection? No, but they look cool, so that's kind of awesome. Now I'm just gonna put those Phillips head screws back in. 1, 2, 1, 2. Put this back on with those 2 bolts and our clutch back on right here, and then we're pretty much good to go. But I think everyone watching can put 2 bolts in here, 2 bolts in here, and be good to go. If you're here for torque specs, you won't find that here. Just give it the one ooga-dooga, and you will be okay. It's a Grom. We got a couple more parts. I did remove the whale tail or the stock fender, and I didn't record that, so my bad. But I will kind of show you guys real quick. I hope that doesn't fall. It's really not on that stand good. To remove the whale tail, all you need is a 10mm socket. You're gonna take your seat off, and there is one of these screws here, 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 and here. I currently zip tied it back up because this will drop a little bit. This is the only thing holding the tail plastic on the bike. So you just unscrew those 4, and then you'll have one plug running up this side to right here for your turn signals and your light, your license plate light, and you'll just unplug that. And then it's off. Super easy. I'm gonna start installing this handbrake. I'm not gonna take the back wheel off yet because sprockets should be coming in like 2 days. So I'm just gonna put the handbrake, like the lever on, and run the line. And for that, we're gonna need, I believe, a 5mm Allen wrench and a Phillips head screwdriver. All right, guys, not the most ideal angle, but the first thing we're gonna do is take our Brembo Master, and we're just gonna put that on. I like, literally 90% of people like running the Master under the clutch, so we are gonna go ahead and do that. Just right under like so. We can adjust it later, so I wouldn't worry about that now. Then you just need to put these 2 screws in. We're not going to tighten them all the way down yet, but we're just going to put them in enough to hold this on. The only other thing up here that we need to do right now is grab our reservoir cup and a zip tie, and just zip tie it to wherever you think fits on your build. I'm going to do mine to the crossbar. They also sell kits where you can properly mount these, but with a stunt bike, it doesn't really matter that much. There we go. We're done right here. Now, we need to take off this side's plastics because I'm going to run the handbrake line down. It's going to come out of right here. I'm going to run it down, maybe under the bars between the risers, and then just along the side of the bike. So let's take the plastics off. All right, to remove the plastics, you need a 5mm Allen wrench, 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts, and then there's 2 Phillips head bolts up here. I'll show you guys those after I get these out. This Phillips head right here, and this Phillips head right here. Now I can't really film that angle, but I'm just gonna unscrew them, and then we'll start popping these off. All the bolts are out. I believe this bottom one pops off from a little clip with a little bit of force, but I didn't break it. It looks like it's just this one and this one go into these little rubber grommets. And the rest of this should all be one piece. There we go. I'm trying to do it gently so I don't break it. Awesome. Okay, so it looks like it is held in with these clips. Well, these just sit in the top, and then these ones are the clips that hold it in. And I don't think I broke any of them. Maybe this one. All right, guys, next up we have our banjo bolt, and you want a crush washer on the top. On the bolt, you put the bolt through the line, and then one on the bottom. So here's our line. We're just gonna put one like so, and then that other washer right on the bottom, like this. And then we're gonna thread it in to our master. I did not leave myself much space, so I might need to loosen up that clutch lever. Oh, never mind, we are good. Now you wanna make sure that these banjo bolts are pretty snugged. Once again, not the video for torque specs, but you don't go Hulk mode on it, but give it just a little extra, if that makes sense. This bag's a little bit in the way, I'll fold it up. I'm gonna go in front of the bars, and then under, in between the risers. I think that's the way I'm gonna do it. And then Honda already routes your throttle cables and everything through a bunch of clips. So I would just say try to follow the stock routing of everything else. If there's a spot for a cable, toss it in. So I'm gonna go right there, through that top routing. These little rubber grommets keep getting stuck everywhere. There we go. And if we look in here, I think we're just gonna send it back there. Like so. And then just pull it to the back. Something like that. Now, the rubber grommets that are sort of along the line, you can position those right on where Honda routes stuff for like a little bit of cushion, but I don't think it matters the absolute most. Anyways, we don't need to keep the bike apart anymore. That's the only thing we had to do with the plastics off. So we're gonna put the plastics back on. Exact opposite of how we took them off. We're gonna put this up here and just listen for clicks. I'm putting the top in first, and then just kind of pushing until I hear stuff. There we go. But I'm gonna go ahead and put those two Phillips head screws back in the front. I do have my stubby screwdriver, helps quite a bit. There's another click. And then we need one more in. I feel like a chiropractor. There we go, we just got that last click. Then we just need to pop the back piece in. It is just these two things we kind of push in like this, and then just our 4 Allen bolts. I just zip tied the back right here so it can't go anywhere, and I did go ahead and snug up this banjo bolt as well. So now we have our clutch on the top, our handbrake on the bottom, and our line ran. Hopefully the parts come in tomorrow. I'll take the rear tire off, switch the sprockets. We're gonna be doing the front and back. And then we're gonna be putting the handbrake bracket and calipers on. Our idle adjuster. And we're gonna start with that because it's super, super easy. If you go onto the right side of the bike, you will see this black cover that's held on by 1 bolt. Just loosen that bolt up and pull that cover out. That is gonna expose all of that good stuff, which we need to take out this tiny bolt right here. You should see a little white stripe on it. That is the bolt you need to take out. The end of it is a very small Allen, or you can get a very small wrench. Either way, just take that thing out. All right, guys, I broke that loose, this little bolt here, with a 7mm. And then we're just gonna finish twisting it out. This is the stock idle. So since it's pushed in that far, it keeps your idle at like, I don't know, 1200 or so. What this is gonna allow us to do is turn that up. So if we wanna do circles, if we want the bike to carry itself a little better, having an idle screw just helps with all of that. You wanna put the spring on the screw first, and then you're gonna thread it in. That spring just makes sure it doesn't back itself out with the vibrations of the bike. All right, I started threading it in, but it's still really loose. You're gonna wanna go ahead and start the bike up just so you can get your idle where you want the stock position to be. You don't wanna crank it all the way up and be scared the first time you start the bike. We're just like almost there. We're like a hair too low. So we're gonna thread this in a little bit more. All right, so right here is the wall of it. As you can see, if I spin it, our idle is going up. Spin it more, the idle is higher. So we're gonna keep that down at about 1200. What we're gonna start with is this sprocket cover, the front sprocket. You have two 8mm bolts. I've already cracked them loose. There's one there, and then there's one here on the bottom. Now, I don't have an 8mm socket, so it is possible with a wrench, but it's not that fun. And then you just pull that out, and there is your front sprocket. Up next, we need a 10 and a 12 to crack these loose. We're gonna loosen up that back one, and then we will loosen up the front one. There we go. That's gonna allow us to push the tire forward. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. Now we're gonna use a 19 on the bolt and a 14 on that side. I can't hold the camera and do this, but we're just gonna loosen that up. You do have the nut and this little thing. Make sure you put those back on when the time comes. And now we can slide our axle out of the bike. So we're gonna lift up on the tire just a bit, and then I can pull it from this side. There we go. We have a wheel adjuster. Let's get the chain off of the sprocket. Like so, and then we'll just kind of pull this on out of there. Perfect. You're gonna want a 17mm socket to get these things off. I will admit, I put it on an impact because the ratchet was not doing it. So, stock sprocket, looking beautiful. This is 38 teeth. We're moving up to a 40 tooth in the rear. This is once again gonna help with that bottom end power, more lot stuff, circles, all that kind of stuff. And it's still gonna be fine in the streets. It will reduce your top speed though. By how much, I'm not sure. Flop that back on, just how you took the other one off. Beautiful. And then throw these back on as well. And the sprocket is done. The rotor is the same thing, guys. These four Allen head bolts, they still suck. Once again, that factory Loctite is no joke. But we're gonna get this off, and it's the same thing as the sprocket, guys. Take these four bolts off, pull the rotor off, put the new rotor on, put the bolts back on. Out with the old, which is ironically newer because I bought this kit used. And you know, it's not perfect, but it works. In with the new to me. And then we're just gonna thread these back in, guys, and the sprocket and rotor is done. Our stock front sprocket is 15 tooth, as you can see by the 15T. We're gonna move that down to a 14, and we're gonna use our impact once again. I would say put the bike in first before doing this. Now we're just gonna pull off this little guard piece. It does have notches, so you'll have to kind of work with it just a little bit. And then we'll get our chain off of that sprocket. All right, sprocket is off. The new one is going on. Line up those notches. Perfect. Get our little locker pin thing back in here. And it does look like only 2 of these on the new sprocket are threaded. So make sure to line that up correctly with whatever ones are threaded on your sprocket. Then we're just gonna tighten these back up, guys. We got the front sprocket on, the back rotor and sprocket on. Now we need to take this chain off because we're gonna be switching it out. Is it important to switch out a chain this early? No, not at all. But am I doing it? Yes. Also, is this the right tool? No, not at all. But it got the job done. You just want to pop that master link, pull this out, and there you go. We can take the chain off of the bike. Beautiful. For this handbrake bracket, we're switching to a Brembo P32 for the foot brake, meaning we need to take our line off here. And there will probably be a little bit of brake fluid that kind of gets everywhere. So we're just gonna pop this bolt off, and then as quickly as we can, and I'm gonna need both hands, but we're gonna pop this off and then just put it directly onto that P32. Here is the new setup. Make sure this slit in your bracket goes into this slit on the swing arm. And yeah, now we just put the tire back on pretty much the way we took it off. We are also gonna put our handbrake line that we ran onto this caliper. It is time to put the tire back on. We've got both of our spacers in on both sides, and this part is a little challenging with just one person, but it can be done. It probably would have been a lot easier to put the calipers on the bracket afterwards, So I think I'm actually gonna take the calipers off because that's gonna make this a lot easier, I think. And now we just have to lift this thing up into it without losing any washers. Good on that side and that side. Get our axle through. Perfect. Back tire is back on. Looking good. Put our calipers back on this bracket. These pads are all scuffed because I don't have the spacer for them, but I'm just gonna kind of hold them apart. I don't plan on riding until I get that piece. The last thing we need to do back here for now, until we put the chain on, is make sure we put our little guide thing back on and our nut. Now we're not gonna tighten these down too much right now because we want the wheel to move pretty freely, but as you can see, this slot is in our guide. Our calipers are back on the bracket. Everything's dusty and gross, but back here's done. Let's put the chain on. Now, I got the chain and sprockets in a kit from a website called Sprocket Center. You just put the year, make, and model of your bike, and it gives you your options. Then you pick the sprocket sizes. So I'm hoping we don't need to remove any links or anything like that. Also, if you want, you can remove this fender just to make it a little easier to work in here. I'm gonna try not to do that though. I just need this piece to go back here, which would be a lot easier if I took this little guard off, but I don't want to. Sorry if this part of the video is a little bit of a mess. For some reason, the camera keeps shutting itself off, and I'm not sure why. So I'm just trying to make it work. Anyways, guys, then we just put our master link in and we got a chain on the bike. Then our chain's on and all we have to do is adjust it. The goal here is pull the tire back. We don't want the chain super tight or super loose. So we're gonna get a very rough adjustment here just by tightening the front bolt down, or the front nut down on both sides, just to kind of hold the wheel where it's at. I'm also pretty sure you're not supposed to do this while it's on a stand, so I might have to readjust it again later. However, there's little notches in those chain adjusters, and you just want to make sure the same amount of notches are on both sides and your chain isn't too tight or loose. On this side we have 4.5, and on this side we have like 20. Right there looks pretty good to me. Now we're going to tighten up this back nut so this upper one doesn't loosen. Make sure to hold that because it is spinning both of them. There we go. We're going to do the same on the other side. Now that that's done, we just have to tighten up the axle. Wheel spins freely, except for dragging on that one brake pad that we need the thing for the caliper still. And the chain feels pretty good while the bike is on the stand. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do for today is bleed the brakes. We did have to pop that bottom cover back off, which was just these 2 bolts. That's it. Then we pull this guy out, and we are gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver to undo these top 2 screws. And then we gotta bleed the brakes. So I'll kind of show you how I do that. I don't think it's the most proficient way, and I'm not gonna do it for the handbrake too, but it's the same process, it just takes a lot longer. All right, we took that cap off of the brake reservoir for the foot brake. We're gonna put that upside down, and the only reason we took that off is to make sure this stays full, because what we're gonna be doing, see how we have no brake pressure? We're gonna be pushing down on this, and then when we hold it down, we're gonna open this bleeder screw on that foot brake caliper. I would also recommend having a piece of Tygon tubing or something so the fluid doesn't spray all over you. I have this little guy, and I'm gonna just put my wrench on and then put that over the top. Perfect. Now I can kind of direct where it's going. It's still gonna go on the tire, but it's not gonna go on me. If you had a longer piece, you could put it into a bottle, but I'm really working with what I got today, so this is what we got. You need to hold down the brake lever, so you'll pump it up a little bit, then hold it down, and then you're gonna open this, just like so. It shouldn't take too long because we should still have some fluid in the line. One thing I do like to do is take the bleeder all the way out and then just wait for fluid to come out. But for now, we're gonna try to do it the official way. Close it back up, pump the brake quite a bit of times. Then you're gonna hold it down, open it up, just like that. Close it up. And as you can see, this is getting lower, so make sure you're refilling that before it drains. But we're gonna pump, we're gonna give this a twist, open it up, There you go. We see a bunch of bubbles right there. We're gonna close it up and then start pumping again. I'm already starting to feel a little bit of break. Anyways, we keep doing this. We pump it, hold it down, crack this, close it, pump, crack, close, over and over until you don't see any more bubbles coming out of this tube. Pull our wrench off, and we have a foot brake. Feels nice and solid. This is a pretty decent level. I'm gonna put a little bit more in and then just bolt that back up and put the plastics back on. Repeat the same steps for the handbrake, except instead of pushing this, obviously, you're gonna be pulling that master up there, and it's a lot easier with 2 people. All right, guys, this one was a bit unexpected for this video. I didn't plan on changing the exhaust. However, I just found a crazy deal on Facebook Marketplace, and I wanna state this before I show you guys this exhaust. This is way overkill for a stunt build Grom, okay? Get the one off Amazon or eBay for $109. You'll be a-okay if you want a different sound to your bike or a louder bike. Anyways, I just found a full system Acroprovic, or however you say it. It's the full titanium one. $150. It was like $41 more than the cheapest exhaust you can get. And I looked it up. This thing costs $633. Which, once again, guys, way overkill for a stunt build. But the fact that I only had to spend $40 more to get one of the best, well, it was kind of a no-brainer to me. So, I'll show you guys how to change the exhaust as well. You're gonna start right here. There's a 12 mil on this side and the other side right back there. You're just gonna loosen those up. And then there is an exhaust mount to your peg, and there is one right there. I believe all of them, yes, all of them are 12 mils. So just loosen this, and the whole exhaust will come off. All right, guys, the stock exhaust is now off. And wow, there is a lot of weight savings here as well that I didn't really cover. And there is one other issue. This was made for the 2020 Grom, so it doesn't exactly mount up perfectly. However, it mounts here just fine. It does not mount here, so I might metal zip tie around that. And then the part where it mounts to the peg, well, it doesn't line up with that. It lines up with like in here. So once again, another zip tie will do it. But guys, I'm pretty geeked. I'm just gonna kind of set you down and hope you can see. And we're gonna get this thing on, guys. It doesn't fit perfect. Wow, it's so light. So freaking light. Just gonna tighten these finger tight up here. And then we're gonna figure out how we wanna mount the back area. I think I'm gonna zip tie that to the peg. Something like this looks pretty good to me. That is a pretty beefy exhaust on a Grom, though, I can't lie. Snug these up with our ratchet. Well, we got a new exhaust on. I will go ahead and give you guys the sound clip. Here we go, fellas. Not bad. Not too bad. A little loud. I don't really like loud exhaust on Groms, but like I said, I can't pass that deal. All right, fellas. Today, we're doing the oil pump mod. This is very divisive. 50% of the community says you don't need it, it's a waste of money. The other 50% says don't leave your bike on 12 without it. I'm putting it in for safety of mind. $100. This one's from Grom Beardo. Only place I would get oil pumps. Very good guy, very good customer service. Anyways, hopefully you have a 12 bar by now. I still don't, because it still hasn't came. So I just gotta tip the bike on its side as carefully as I can. I put a towel down, and you just gotta lean the bike over. Very slow. Perfect. We're good. Now to get to your oil pump, you need to take out all of these. My bike is still a little hot because I was just riding it. Probably not a great idea to do it right now. But you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. maybe 10. I don't know if I counted that one or not. 9 or 10 of those, just take them out. All right, guys, there was 10 in there. And now we just have to take this off. Be careful when you do this. There is a gasket. If you wanted to do this the right way, I would buy a gasket before doing it. However, I didn't do that. So I'm just gonna be careful taking this off. There's a tab here, and mine is still hot. But there's a tab here you can lift up on, and you see that separate. And then we're just gonna lift up this whole cover on the side, guys. We do got some oil spilling, which I knew would happen. I'm gonna try to turn the bars so the bike is a little bit flatter. Probably easier if you take the rear set off, but we're not doing that. Here we go. We did spill a little bit of oil, but we're gonna need a change because we're coming up on 300 miles anyways. Here's our gasket, fully intact. We're gonna set that right there. While we have this open, we could pull this screen out and check the screen, make sure there's no type of big things on it. We actually do have a little bit of stuff on it. It's a brand new bike, so I'm not surprised. We're gonna clean that off. Not right now, but we will do it. And then here is our oil pump. So 1, 2, 3 bolts holding it on. I believe it's a 10. And we're just gonna loosen these just like so. 1, 2, and 3. Let me take those off and I'll show you guys how to put the new oil pump in. All it is for here, you're just taking these 3 out and it pulls straight up. There is our OEM oil pump. We should be able to just pull this out. Mine is still a little hot, but you know, it'll be all right. I think I need both hands. I'm trying. All right, both hands, 1 second. There we go, straight up and out. We have 1 dowel pin here and 1 here that kind of fell out. I'm gonna push that back in. Make sure you have those 2 dowel pins. And here's the OEM pump. Here is the wheelie mod. Basically, when you're in a wheelie, all your oil's going back here. So this pump just has an extension to still pick that oil up. Once you have this, you're gonna drop the front into that hole and then just work it in. You're just gonna work it in and spin it as you go down. Align it back with those dowels that were on the previous one, like so. Now that that is lined back up, we can put our bolts back in. Got 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. Just got all 3 of those tightened down. I did want to note, we do need to take out these 2 pins and O-rings and put them in the new pump. And also, most stunt Groms, people do clutch springs and they change out this basket and then a 6-bolt lifter plate and 60% springs. Personally, I'm gonna leave mine stock, but it does help the bike get up, especially in 2nd, 3rd, even 4th gear. So if that's something you think you need, you could go ahead and do it, but I'm not gonna be doing it in today's video, so I won't be able to show you guys that. I don't think I'm doing it to this Grom at all. All right, guys, the last thing we're doing to the Grom is today, and it is the 12 bar. Couple disclaimers here. My buddy's letting me borrow this one until mine comes in because small bore rally's coming up, and I really wanted to have one on by the time I go, and the only hardware that he had with it is the 4 side bolts, all right? So there's 1 washer and 1 bolt, and that goes here, 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 and here. There's little caps you pop off of this. He's missing the 4 that go here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're gonna put it on with just those 4, and then we'll go to the hardware store and find the ones that can fit in there. But disclaimer, I'm not gonna have the OEM hardware to put this on. However, I will have the 4 there. Now those are pretty heavy, so it is gonna be a 2-hand thing. Can I just, that kind of works. Let's go. This is probably way easier to put on with the middle bolts first, because then it would hold it up how it needs to be. But it just sits on here like this. I think I'm actually gonna try to run zip ties through all of the middle bolts just to hold it on. All right, just got it zip tied on. Now we're just gonna run 1 washer behind the plastic in the front. I'm sorry, the angle is kind of whack, like so. And then line up our holes and thread this in. We're gonna do that for all 4 sides. In the back ones, the washer goes outside the plastic. Side ones tightened on, and I found this in my toolbox. I found 2 of them, so I'm just gonna put one right there and one right there, and then I have a nut that I'm gonna put on the bottom, and then the 12 bar is on, guys. That is a full stunt bike, I believe. We'll try to go get some clips on the next nice day and then wrap this video up.